Texans free agent I almost said quarterback. I don't know why. Linebacker E.J. Speed, formerly of the hated Indianapolis Colts, joined Texans Radio earlier this week. Mark and John did a really great job with E.J. It looked like he actually said, I had a great time. This was a lot of fun at the end of it. I'll click a link here at the end of this live stream. But first, the answer that maybe I liked most was the first answer he gave on just how he likes having DeMeco Ryans as a coach.
A lot of stuff that he says just makes a lot of sense just because he's been in a situation. You feel what I'm saying? He knows the footwork. He's played in certain situations, knowing down and distance and all that type of stuff. So it's little interesting things that like he can just say to you that's like, you know what, that does make sense, and it's actually applying on the field in certain situations. You know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff that some people just can't relate to.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that some jackass coaches can't relate to at times. His position coach in Indianapolis was Richard Smith, who, as many of you know, is not my favorite coach in the history of football. And by that, I mean he was my least favorite coach. So I knew him as a defensive coordinator. Who knows? Maybe as a linebackers coach, he's incredible. For those of you who don't know, E.J. Speed came up the hard way. He was a special teamer from a small no-name college. I apologize to all the alumni. I can't think of the name of it right now. But he worked his way into it and was playing behind Darius Leonard, had to really earn his play time. But when he's talking there about, you know, DeMeco can point certain things out, having played the position as a high football IQ guy. It reminded me of Jamie Sharper when he came to the Texans. He was coming off of the Ravens Super Bowl team and those incredible defenses he had. And he'd had Jack Del Rio as his coach for a couple of years when he was with the Ravens. And he said Jack Del Rio, former player, guy that played a lot longer than people would have expected to him in the NFL because he was really smart. Jamie said he just saw the game completely differently after having a coach like Jack Del Rio. And I think DeMeco can and does have that effect on guys, going from Fred Warner, Azeez Elshire, up to hopefully Christian Harris again this year. And I could see where the appeal to him in coming to Houston, aside from, you know, whatever prove-it-year contract on a good team, all of that, I think specifically going to a team where, man, DeMeco really does seem to get the best out of a linebacker. Go back to that Christian Harris pick 6 in the playoffs where DeMeco basically laid out step by step how Flacco was going to misread the coverage they're in, and Christian was going to step in and get that pick 6. That's exactly what a guy like E.J. Speed wants when he's coming here. This was interesting. They asked him exactly what he's seen from the offense so far. And E.J.'s a veteran. He's not going to give away too much, but I liked what I heard.
I mean, little different things that I didn't see in practice based on when I was playing them during the season is they understand situation and know where they're going. They've been throwing a lot of counters, a lot of stuff that getting into different formations and getting into formations and trusting what they run out of those formations and stuff like that. Don't want to give up too much, but just, you know, they steady. I can see the confidence, even though CJ hasn't, you know, been able to participate. Mills has gotten there and he's been, you know, doing his thing, and everything just seemed more fluent.
Yeah, more fluent or fluid or whatever. I guess the part that intrigued me was he said that he felt like they understood down and distance better. And immediately I thought, Bobby, damn it. Now I got to go back and watch the Colts games and try to figure out just specifically where E.J. Speed might have thought, like, why are they running that on this? I do think, you know, the play I showed yesterday on the live stream was a situation where CJ was trying to push the ball down deep on 2nd and 7, and Bobby Slowick had called a play that was not the best to face, not the best versus cover 2, which is what they ended up seeing. And I don't think it's that CJ didn't understand the situation. It's that he had no options and he didn't have any command at the line of scrimmage to tweak things a little bit to give him a faster option on 2nd and 7. But they treated that down like it was 3rd and long, and they just had to have it. And let's hope the protection holds up and we'll go deep. And it's no secret at this point that Bobby Slowick was not the guy the Texans trusted to understand situational football. I'll put that on Nick Caley as much as any of the actual individual players. And just by way of showing exactly what E.J. Speed thinks of C.J. Stroud, because I know they had their little run-ins on social media. Going back to following C.J.'s rookie year, this was E.J. Speed on Zaire Franklin's podcast talking about the rookie version of C.J. Stroud.
He won't even be looking at the read, and then you know he got about one more look before it get ugly for him. And then he look at your guy, and you didn't plaster like, got your ass. And then this motherfucker look somewhere else and throw the ball for a completion. You like, nah.
That's what I like about CJ the
That's
most.
your third read. You know how degrading that is for a quarterback to hit his third read?
You know how degrading that is? I love it. I love it. No more people talking about how CJ has degraded them publicly in front of their friends, families, and paying season ticket holders. That's like those two are just fine. If anybody hasn't figured it out by now, the social media stuff was just whatever it was these days. I don't understand kids these days. This is an answer I really liked out of E.J. Speed. And remember, he came up the hard way. Nothing given, everything earned, just like Azeez Al-Shire. This is E.J. Speed on what it's like, how he approaches this time of the year after minicamp is over.
Say the break out of OTAs is a scam because it's really not a break.
Okay.
And if you take it as a break, and take your foot off the pedal a little bit, you kind of like come in a step behind. So
would you rather have it closer? Now, this is not for the union or anything. Would you rather have it closer? Maybe like 3 weeks off instead of 6 and like back
longer.
I would say the strives and everything that I've done in OTAs, I would love to take that directly into the season and play ball because now that you go put it down for 6 weeks, or however many weeks it is, you got to basically revamp again.
Yeah, it's true. It's 100% true. That always drove me insane. And it wasn't like, you don't worry about guys like E.J. Speed. You don't worry about guys like C.J. Stroud. You certainly don't worry about Will Anderson. If anything, with some of those guys, you worry that maybe they do too much. And like, you got to find that delicate balance, just like a baseball pitcher has to figure out just how hard to train right before spring training. There are guys that just flat out look at it as a vacation. Like, yep, I've been through these non-contact OTAs and mini camps. Body's pretty brutalized. I'm just going to take it easy and maybe get on the stationary bike for 15 minutes. Those are the guys you worry about. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're not allowed to monitor them. You're not allowed to check in on them, or I guess you can check in on them. But there's a lot of BS artists in the NFL. So I used to worry about those guys this time of year. I like the composition of the Texans. I think guys, they do a good job of getting guys in who take their job seriously. You'd be amazed at some of the guys that are high-paid guys in NFL history who, for the month of July, will be like, I deserve a break. I'm just going to do absolutely nothing at all for 3 weeks. Then they show up and they're all pros again. Very annoying. Very, very annoying to pluggers like E.J. Speed. This is E.J. on who is the biggest Colts rival? A little bit of a disappointing answer, but it makes perfect sense.
Quite honestly, when we was there, it was just different. It was different tasks within the division. Yeah. Like us not winning at home against Jacksonville at their house. Not beating Jacksonville at home. Not winning our season opener or whatever like that. It was so much stuff within that. Having to see the Texans, knowing that Texans will be one of the last games to get into the playoffs. It was those things that just kept popping up for us, and so we didn't really have time to
think about one team or
think
whatever.
about what team, one team that was a rival. When was the last time anyone in our division been to the Super Bowl that was within, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was bigger than that because everybody, everybody been looking at trying to get to the Super Bowl, trying to get to the big dance. So.
Yeah, this is my selfish wish for the Houston Texans is that at some point there's a team in the division that can match the way the Texans play defense, because then you've got the potential for a Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers type of rivalry. And I'll use those two specifically because it's not the same as some of the old guard NFL rivalries. You look at the black and blue division of the days of old and how those still remain. Those are very deeply ingrained in the fan base. But if you look at the Ravens and the Steelers, that's a relatively new football team, and the old Browns getting a new name and everything. But going against the Pittsburgh Steelers and creating a rivalry really over the past couple decades, it's just been based on they're in the same division and they play a lot of the same brand of football. More so the Ravens as of late, I think, defensively at least. But still, there's a certain grit to that. And I don't know if there's anybody that can hold up to the way the Texans play defense right now. I'm not eager for it to happen super, super quickly, but that would be nice. Beautiful thing happened here amongst the messages. I know that BG looks like you hooked up Retired Row with some training camp tickets. Excellent. Beautiful things being done here within the community. So thank you. The members are very strong in this one. And Retired Row talked about, you had asked the question. Oh, so as far as getting out of the OTAs and then having all this downtime, so you get all pumped up to play and then you have a break, so you lose the edge. I don't know if the edge is. I think it's that if you're a guy like E.J. Speed that really had to earn his way into a starting role. He's on a 1-year contract here. I think any rookie, all those guys, you kind of feel like, okay, I'm just starting to get the feel of this new defense. All right, I'm good. Let's keep building. They're like, no, we're going to take a 5-week hiatus. It just, you feel like you just want to keep the momentum rolling and just keep progressing and taking the steps. Obviously, I'm not acting like it's the worst thing in the world or anything that you got to take a few weeks off. It's just that, I don't know. Yeah, I'd rather have maybe a little bit. I would sacrifice all the OTAs if you got rid of OTAs in the spring and then just had a longer training camp, as long as the first couple of weeks of training camp were very much learning and educational and everything. But there's no ideal scenario. Not too worried about it. But good job, everybody, getting together to help out Retired Row with tickets. I don't know what exactly my training camp situation is. So at some point, maybe I'll have some to dole out to some people along the way. But I don't want to make any promises right now. So let me know about E.J. Speed. I am excited about him. I know I've gotten in arguments with people about just how much the team is going to use him or what have you. He's a swarm type of dude. If we watch the highlights, which I know I've shown this a few times on here before, but E.J. Speed does not mess around. He likes to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. He hasn't been awesome in coverage, but that's where I think he's kind of a unique specimen in that even though he's been in the league a while, he's only been a full-time starter for a couple of years. And if you just watch him, like, read, attack the line of scrimmage, that wasn't the most spectacular play that I added on there. But he's great in open space. He does make plays in coverage, but in the open field as well. He is very, very fast, especially when filling the run. You want to be able to kind of translate some of that speed into pass coverage. And that might be as simple as just being in the right scheme and having the right coaching and then getting a little bit more experience doing it. So the upside of this signing for a guy who's on a 1-year, I believe $3.5 million plus incentives or $4 million, whatever it might be, he's going to contribute this year. They're going to find ways to use him. And especially versus teams that are running heavier personnel, 2 tight ends, a fullback, those types of scenarios. I think D'Amico would prefer to be able to have to line up in a 4-3 with 3 linebackers on the field, which they couldn't do a whole lot last year. E.J. Speed might end up being a big part of that. So very intrigued by him. Seems like an eminently likable young guy. Checks off all the boxes. Good-looking kid. We're off to the races.